guys, it's Sam and I'm here to announce Tome Topple Readathon Round 13. So as many of you know, Tome Topple is a readathon that I created that is just about reading big books, so books over 500 pages. That is really the only qualifier for this. We do now have some like prompts and stuff, but they're not required at all. You can participate in Tome Topple just by reading books over 500 pages. So this Tome Topple is taking place from November 14th to November 27th, and that's in your time zone. We do have a number of returning co-hosts. I will link all of them down below because we're still waiting on some like scheduling things for a few people, so I don't want to potentially leave anybody out, but everyone will be linked down below. Many of them, if not all of them, are returning faces that have been in previous rounds. So the co-hosts are all fantastic because they are who allow us to have a lot more of the reading sprints and things. If I was the only one in charge of reading sprints, they would not happen because I don't have a very open schedule. So having a lot of us to run reading sprints is fantastic. So those all happen on the Tome Topple Twitter. That is also linked down below. In addition, we're mixing things up a bit this year. In the past, we've had a Goodreads group, but none of us really like using Goodreads groups and it's just not a fun time. So we decided this year to now have a Discord. This is open to anybody. Discord is a free text-based like chatting app and you can have multiple different channels and things. So the Discord invite link is also down below, and that is replacing the Goodreads group. So the Goodreads group is going to be shut down and switching all over to Discord. So Discord has a general chat for you guys to talk readathon stuff throughout the month, but there's also stuff to announce your TBR and like link where you're talking about the readathon. Then there's also a channel to ask for different channels to be made for different books. So those popular books people tend to read a lot, the Expanse books, The Name of the Wind, the Brandon Sanderson books, Lies of Locke Lamora, some of these books that like get read a lot if people want to buddy read them and discuss them as they're reading them. We will have channels created as people request them for those books. So there'll be a lot of opportunity for people to talk there. Also, we're continuing to do Instagram challenges, so those are listed on my Twitter as of today, so you can go and check those out, and we're hoping that a lot more people participate in that. I tried to make the challenges this time around be a little like easier to do, so I'm trying to participate a lot more in it this round, and I hope you guys will too. And there's also an Instagram story like template that I am posting on my stories as well that you guys can use to talk about the readathon throughout. Now, let's get into the prompts and like the graphics and stuff for that. So we have kind of a bingo card, and that's what I've been doing for a while, although you don't need to like make bingo. It's just like an easy way to sort of like cross things off. But these are all the prompts, and then depending on the number of categories, you will hit like a certain status. So for 1 to 3 categories, you are a student, 4 to 6, you are a sage, and 7 to 9, you are a scholar. And each book can only count for a max of 2 categories. So you need to read 4 books to even get to the scholar category, 4 different books. And I will go over the challenges. Number 1 is a tome that has been on your TBR the longest. Number 2, a tome that you started during another round of Tome Topple, since we've had so many. Number 3 is a tome in a series you haven't read in a while. A while can mean anything, that is completely up to you, but this is more for getting some motivation to read books from a series that you haven't picked up in a while. Maybe that has been kind of on like the back burner, or you took a break from, or whatever. It's to get back into and continue with that kind of series. Number 4 is a tome in a genre you don't usually read. A lot of people are like, I read every genre, which is true, but I'm sure most people do have certain genres that they skew more towards. So even if you do read every genre, this is what you don't usually read. So the genre you read from the least if you read everything. And the middle category is like your bingo, read 1 tome. Then number 6, a seasonally colored tome. So for the Northern Hemisphere, that's going to be obviously like autumn colors, like oranges and yellows and reds. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, that's going to be spring colors, so like greens, pastels, those kinds of things. Number 7 is a tome on audiobook. Number 8 is your most recently acquired tome. And the 9th challenge is tome by an Indigenous author. And that is specifically for Native American Heritage Month, which is in November in the United States and I think in Canada. But again, this can be any Indigenous author because there's not a ton of books to choose from that are tome-sized by Indigenous authors. It's a pretty small list, but I will link that list down below and you can add to it in the comments and stuff as well. Because I know it is a little bit harder to find books in the 500+ page range by Indigenous authors, but it's still something that I want to challenge you to do. So those are it for the challenges. Again, none of those are required. You can read whatever book over 500 pages that you want, and that counts for like any edition of the book. If it's over 500 pages, it counts for an over 500 page book. I've mentioned this before, I am not going to hunt you down as a Tome Topple police. If you were to read a book that's like a few pages short of 500, I'm not going to know. I'd almost rather you not ask me, because I'm just like, the rule is this, but like if you want to break it, like you're totally, like that's totally fine. Like I'm fine with that. Like you do you. If you like whatever, like you can choose what you want to read. It's fine. So for my personal TBR, I'm actually going through a couple of things that were like my end of the year sort of like challenges. One book is from my 5-star TBR predictions. One book is from a series that I wanted to kind of like catch up on a little bit more this year. Things like that. So those are the things that I'm hoping to achieve with this TBR. I'm only going for 2, possibly 3 books, because I never really read more than that for Tome Topple. So the first book on my TBR is Blood Upon the Sand by Bradley Baleo. This is the second book in the Shattered Sands, Song of Shattered Sands series. And this is an adult fantasy series. I think it's going to be like 6 books, I want to say. But this is a desert-based fantasy, and our main character of Seda is trying to take down these 12 kings that somehow killed her mother, but she doesn't really know why. She's a cage fighter, so she's really badass. She's trying to infiltrate the assassin group that defends the kings, who all have like magical powers, all these kings do, and take them out like one by one. So this is like, yeah, a revenge quest story, but like a lot deeper than that. A lot of like political stuff happening. The magic system's really cool, and I really loved this first book. So this is the second book, and want to continue with that. And then I have 2 possible books that I'm deciding between. The first is Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castel. This is the second book in the Greatcoat series. I really want to start reading this one, but I haven't read the first book. I think it was just Greatcoats? Trader's Blade was the first book. I haven't read that in like over a year, and I think I've probably forgotten stuff. But I know it's just like a 3-star book for me, so I don't really want to read it. So I'm hoping I can just read a recap and go down to this one, because this is one of the books that I want to read before the end of the year. As far as series I want to catch up on, but I'm not going to completely catch up on this series, so that was like a very lofty goal of mine. But I wanted to read more of this, but I don't know if I can dive back in without knowing more about the first book. Hopefully there's a recap online. My other option, if I really want to do this, which I don't know because I'm like, I have plenty of these other books and like, it's fine, is possibly reading the second David Broad trilogy book, which is The Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, because I don't want to run into the same issues I'm having with that series, because I recently read, last month, I recently read that book, the first book. So I might do that instead to not run into this issue again. But this is the book that's actually on my like list of series to finish or catch up on before the end of the year. So I don't know. And then the third book that I may or may not get to depending on my library availability is I do want to potentially read the audiobook of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which would fit the Indigenous author prompt. I think there's a pretty long wait list for my library though, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that one, but I'm going to try. So as far as challenges, this fits tome that has been on your TBR the longest and seasonally colored tome. This one is tome in a series that you haven't read in a while and reading 1 tome. And then the Rebecca Roanhorse book Black Sun will be an audiobook tome potentially if I can get it, and tome by an Indigenous author. So that is it for my Tome Topple announcement video. I hope you guys are excited for round 13. We typically always have a round in November, so it just feels nice, like comforting, soothing to me. But comment below, let me know if you're participating, what you'll be reading, and definitely check out the links for everything down below as far as the Instagram challenges, the Discord group, and the Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.